Ruben's the biggest pervert. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's everyone's animal, but my dog is a fucking deviant.
This is Wild Yarns with Samara and Sheri.
G'day legends and welcome to Wild Yarns. So today we've got a bloody epic episode and we're talking about animals, and that's not just us being wild animals on the weekend, it's actual animals. We've got Charlotte back in here today, and she's actually a animal behavioralist. Have I butchered that?
Yeah, so I'm a vet tech and I also do a lot of animal behavior type stuff. So at the moment I'm doing horses, so I guess technically a horse trainer.
She is also a freaking amazing trainer. I know from experience because she's managed to train the untrainable, which is my miniature Pomeranian named Coco.
Spicy Pom. Yeah, train the spicy Pom.
All Poms are spicy.
Yes,
I feel like they're a dog breed that is just a little bit cunty.
And 100%. I can say that. I love her with every fibre, but she is a dickhead sometimes.
She's so sassy. Like, she's just, I love her little personality.
Sometimes I'm just like, why are you upset? Like, why? Like, literally, she's on the couch the other day just growling. No one's on the couch with her. She's just sitting there growling at Casper the Friendly Ghost. Like, I was like, why? I remember one time, like, I caught Chiego talking to her, and he's sitting on the couch being like, I don't get why you are so angry. You get everything. Your mother loves you. You get all the toys, all the pets. I make you delicious dinners. Why are you so angry, Coco? Why?
She's just a pissy little thing. Yeah. Well, I've got Ruben, and he's a cavoodle, and I mean, like, what kind of inner city basic bitch would I be if I didn't have a poodle mixed breed? Like, I don't think you're allowed to live within like a 5k radius of the city unless you've got a cavoodle.
Or
it's
Frenchie.
Like, yeah, you can't. You can't. They just won't let you buy in the postcode. So I do have Rubes, and I guess it's interesting. I had to get an animal behavioralist when I got Ruben because I had so many fucking problems with him. So I got Rubes. It's a bit of a wild story and it's interesting. So I dated this dude who he just wanted me to have kids. Like and we only dated all up for about 3 months. And the whole time he wanted me to have kids. He had his own dog and he just was very heavy on, and I was probably only about 25, not ready for that journey in life. And he kept on ramming the kid thing down my throat. So I was pretty much, and he was a bit of an asshole to me. He always used to buy me gifts, but he'd be the biggest piece of shit to me. Like, he'd abuse me over random things. And I guess Samara today would not tolerate that. But back then I was like, fan of my feet. Anyways, one day I was going to go and break up with him, and he had this cavoodle puppy there. And he's like, look, I've got you this dog so you can learn to look after something so we can have kids together. And I was like, fuck. Oh, no. Yeah, well, the dog's cute. And poor Rubes, because he'd bought this dog and we probably stayed together after that for maybe a month. I was travelling a lot for work, so I didn't see him a lot. But Rubes, I just didn't bond with him because I was like, I'm going to dump this guy. I don't want this dog. He's fucking cute, but I do not want him. And the guy had he had no teeth. Anyways, that's
back onto
do you know,
men with no teeth.
One night, like, I'm going to digress. Like, one night we were doing it, and I remember I switched on the light where it was like at night, and I looked at him and he had no fucking teeth, and I was like,
terrifying.
I know, I levitated. He looked like a witch. Anyways, turned out he secretly had dentures, which just go and get. Don't have dentures. Like, if you have no teeth, suck it up and get, what is it, veneers. Get yourself a set of veneers.
I think you can't get veneers unless you got teeth to put them on.
Well, what do you do?
Dentures. Yeah. So veneers has got to be like, I have veneers because we've talked like about the teeth. There is a previous episode all about teeth, so go back and watch that. It's bad day.
Back on teeth again.
You and me have not had luck with men and bad teeth.
I didn't even notice, and it wasn't until I turned on the light and he looked like Bette Midler's character out of that fucking witches show that I was like, oh, fuck. who are you? And he's like, I didn't want to tell you because I knew you'd tease me. I'm like, I'm not teasing you, but this is a big adjustment for me. Anyways, so that's that man. And eventually when I did break up with him, he used to do things, and I think he knew I was going to break up with him, where he would try and distract me from breaking up with him. Like, so I invited him over and I was like, I'm going to break up with him. By the way, sidebar, if you are going to dump someone, don't do it at your house because you got nowhere to go.
Yep. Because then they're at your house and you can't just like...
What do you do?
Yeah, I have been there, but I have learnt that the hard way. 100%, you go to them so you can be like, yep.
Bye.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you do have stuff at theirs, just take it before you do this.
Just gently take it.
That way you don't have to go through that, I need to get my stuff.
Or sacrifice it.
Yeah, so
to Vinny's. Drop it down to Vinny's. So he brought over, funnily enough, Reuben. So Reuben, I think, was a distraction piece, and then a box of Maxi Bonds, because I must have been going through a Maxi Bond phase, which I was like, fuck yeah, Maxi Bonds. I was like, just put the Maxi Bonds in the fridge. And sat down, broke up with him. I was so blindsided.
Did he take his Maxi Bonds back?
That was a great time because after he left, I had a box of Maxi Bonds, and he was very, very upset. And I guess because he was such an asshole, I don't think he ever thought that someone would leave him, and he just took it quite badly. He totally chucked the toys out of the cot, and Reuben was there, and he's like, fucking keep the dog. I don't want a bar of it. You hang on to him. And I thought, because it was sort of heat of the moment, and I remember, like, the way I got him out of my house is I was like, I've got to take the dog down to do a shit. And Reuben was like a dumb little puppy. And, like, I'm standing in the front yard with the grass. Like, I lived in an apartment. Reuben's not shitting. This bloke's staring at me in his car from across the street. And I'm like, come on, mate. Like, please fucking do something. I got to go. And then I just took him back up. Kind of half expected. And I think this is why poor Reuben had so many problems. I half expected, and like this guy had sort of crate trained him and stuff at one house, and he was still a puppy. He's probably only by this time 12 weeks old. He was just a little baby. And so he's had, and this guy was always yelling at me. He was always, so Rube it's weird. I talk about him like he's a child, but he took on all this shit. And then the poor thing, because he was just dropped at my house one night. My house wasn't puppy proof. I was not anticipating and having a dog. And I didn't really bond with him because I thought old mate was going to come back. I'm like, oh, he's going to come back for his dog. And I called him a few times. He's like, no, that's your dog. You hang on to the dog. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then about 6 weeks went by and I was like, mate, you're not getting your dog back. Like, fucking not at all. I've had this dog for 6 weeks. You have said nothing. So he used to have really bad separation issues. He would howl the house down whenever I left. And I guess I had to get a behaviouralist who told me the tip I got was make you leaving the best thing ever. Like, she's like, give him little toys to play with so when you're leaving he's not as stressed. Give him things to occupy himself with. And you might even have some more strategies because I feel like even though Reuben had a bit of a rough sort of situation in coming to me, a lot of people probably through COVID would have a lot of issues with dogs having separation anxiety. It's very common. And I used to just give him because I didn't anticipate having a dog. I was broke. I just started a business, so I didn't have a lot of money. I'd give him like Coke bottles, empty Coke bottles that I'd clean, and I'd put some kibble in it.
That's the best.
Yeah, he loved it. He's still to this day.
Plastic bottle.
That's why, like, if I ever have a plastic bottle, he's like sniffing around. He's like, oh my God, give me your trash, woman. And he's like 7, almost 8 years old now, and he loves himself little Coke bottles still. He ended up calming down. He's the most chill dog. Whenever I leave and come home from the house, he'll just sit in his bed just because I trained him. They're smart dogs. Like, I trained him, look, sit in your bed, something good's going to happen. You're going to get a treat. You get a Coke bottle. But do you have any more strategies outside of that for people that maybe have a little stressy dog, not from a toothless person? Hopefully not the toothless man giving me the dog was just a bonus.
Yeah. Oh, stressy dogs, like, especially over COVID, like, they were keeping me in business, like, the COVID dogs. It really depends because, like, obviously the little strategies you put with your dog, like that helped. But if it's too severe, sometimes you do need like actual medication and stuff.
Wow, yeah.
So that's becoming pretty popular at the moment, is like putting your dogs on antidepressants and stuff.
Doggy
which really helps.
antidepressants.
Really, really helps.
You're
yeah.
joking, mate. You share your drugs with dinner.
Yeah, literally, Zactin, Prozac, like all the same. Yeah, we can use it for pets. So
Coco does have some chill pills for
Does
the
she?
stressful times.
Yep.
I remember, like, because she's not a fan of the vets. And I remember her vet, who's, like, absolutely amazing. She gave us some. She's like, okay, like, we don't want this to become a situation where she's, like, ridiculously stressed anytime she comes here. And I gave her them, and she was still, and she was like, you gave her them. I'm like, this is her on them.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is her drugged. Like, because she was like bailing up a freaking German Shepherd in the waiting room.
Yeah. So she's
savage.
like this big, like tiny, fluffy,
Yeah,
ferocious.
3.5
So
kilos.
ferocious.
3.5 kilos, but really think she's Conor McGregor. Like, she is ready to rumble with any dog, and she particularly likes to go on the big dogs.
She's
But yeah,
so funny.
I was like, this is her medicated. Like, you don't want to see her unmedicated.
Yeah.
I love her when she's stoned off her head and she's got like her tongue hanging
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, because she's got
off
new
chops.
teeth left. Aw.
She's just a little old
so
lady off her head. I love it. Yeah, well, even Rubes now, he still doesn't like blokes. It takes him. And it's weird that sort of stayed with him. And I don't know if maybe, I don't know, like he can still be quite reactive when we're out. Like if a man's walking towards us, he'll just be like, and maybe he's just picking up my vibes. He's like, my mother's a man hater and I will hate men. But no, he gets quite reactive about it still. But mind you, once you win over Ruben, you have him for life. Like, you know, the guy my sister's dating plays with Ruben all the time. This guy comes over and Ruben's like, oh my God, it's my new dad. Like, so it's fun.
Yeah, the interesting thing about like dogs and like men is actually mostly just because men are generally bigger.
Yeah,
and
right.
they
Deeper voice.
they
Yeah.
got deeper voice. They look and they sound just more intimidating to dogs.
Of course.
So that's why a lot of dogs seem to be like scared of men, but it's not because they've been abused by men. Like,
No.
of course, sometimes they probably have, but like it's just because they're bigger.
Yes.
And then once they realize who it is, they'll kind of
Chill
warm up
out.
to it. Same if you like approach a dog wearing a hat, or if you like
Ruben
carry
hates
something.
a hat. We went to a
Big
hat
shoes.
party
Coco
once.
hates
Yeah.
work boots.
Yeah,
Really?
she
Oh,
does.
absolutely hates work boots.
Yeah,
Like-
right.
Will not have a bar of work boots.
Yeah.
Not about it. Yeah, hat. I took Rubes to a hat party, and he popped off, which was fucking annoying. And it's a complete liability for me as a single girl walking my dog, and like guys come over to be like, "Oh, you cute dog." I'm like, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm looking like a fucking gremlin.
The ultimate cock block.
Yeah, he stitches me up.
Is it bad that I trained my dog to do that?
Yeah, what kind of dog have you got? What do you work?
I've got a cattle dog. So
Cute.
he's very like, well, he's cattle to cross, but he's very protective, like naturally.
Yes.
And he has protected me sometimes, like for one instance, I was after work one day, like when I used to work at the vet clinic.
Yep.
Would always take him to work with me every day. Like he just loved hanging out in the cage. And I took him for a walk after work. I just had him on the lead, and I just sat down on the park bench. I was really invested. I was like typing a message, and he just starts going off his head.
Yeah,
And I
right.
look up, and there's this guy trying to approach us, and my dog is at the end of the lead, fully like trying to bail
Putting
this
some
guy up.
Yeah, right.
And the guy's like, "Oh, does he want a pat?"
He fucking
And
does
I'm like,
not want to
No,
pat.
I'm like, he will bite you.
Yeah.
Like, and because I didn't hear this guy approaching. Like, if I was sitting there by
Yeah.
myself, that guy was obviously trying to approach me.
Yes,
to like,
yes.
And even though the dog was like trying to attack him, he's still trying to initiate conversation. And I was just like, I'm so glad you're here, Jubby. Like,
Yeah.
Now that's what, Coco's a small dog, and, like, people just, like, flat out ignore the fact that she doesn't want to be touched.
yeah.
Like, I always say to people, they're like, oh, I'm like, no, like, she's not
Yeah.
don't pat her.
Most dogs don't like strangers touching them.
Yeah.
No, and
Like,
I feel
don't
like
touch other people's
But
dogs.
then
Yes.
I remember one time I was, like, getting fish and chips. I tied her up outside. Like, I was just popping inside to grab it. And someone's, like, come out, and I said, oh, don't. Like, she's not. And they're like, oh, no, it's fine. She's so... And I was just like... And then they went, and she snapped at them. And they're like, oh...
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
bad
you're the
dog.
big country
And
for
I'm
the
just
dog.
like, I told you not to. And they're like, oh, nah, look at... And they went to do it again. I'm like, dude, she's telling you no. And if it was a big dog, you would stop. But because it's a little dog... And I'm like, that's why little dogs, like, don't give you any, like... There's no warning anymore because they're like, nah, no one listens. So unless I'm psycho...
Yeah.
I think there's like a whole thing around, and I'll say it also, like most of my friends with kids, their kids are the most well-behaved. They're very polite with animals. They do a great job with Reuben. However, I do have, I won't say which one, but I've got someone in my life that has some children who has not taught their kids boundaries around animals.
That's dangerous.
And that's so dangerous because if they don't know that, and because I can read my dog, and Rubes. Another thing is if you back an animal into a corner and they don't want to be there, their fight and flight's going to kick in. This is just me saying this, jump in if I'm wrong, but for Rubes, his fight and flight's going to kick in. He is going to start hissing and carrying on. He's just not going to love it. And Reuben is a fairly well-behaved, chill dog. Anyways, this family friend, their little girl was just... And she was old enough, she was probably like 5 or 6, old enough to know better, old enough to be given instructions, you know. Kept on grabbing his ears. Reuben's like a cab, so he's got like little eyelashes. She's pulling on his eyelashes, and I'm like, mate. And I'm going, oh, give Reuben some space. And her mum's like, oh, no, she loves animals. I'm like, don't give him space. I'm not saying this for your child. I'm saying it for my dog, because if you back him up, he's going to he's going to be a sassy little shit and bite her. He's never bitten anyone, but I don't want to leave it open, and then my dog's the one that's getting reprimanded for this sort of behaviours. But there is definitely a piece in not just kids, but even humans or other people not knowing their boundaries around an animal sort of thing. So,
and respecting that animals have boundaries.
Yes.
And that they have feelings, and like, yeah, that you can't just go up and do whatever you want to them just because you're a human and they're an animal. Like, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, and I feel like there is a little bit of misconception about, like, animals' behaviour and body language because, like, Coco wags her tail. It's not because she's happy. It's because she's stimulated.
Yeah, it's arousal.
Yeah, and it's like, because everyone instantly goes, oh, no, she's... And then when she gets cranky, they're like, oh, but she's wagging it. I don't get this. And I'm like, it's because she's just stimulated. It's excitement. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's just, like, stuff is happening, you know?
Yeah, right. I have a funny Reddit story, which honestly, it's not anything behaviour, but I read it and I was like, this is hilarious. All right. And you know what? We all have dogs. When I was researching, like, animal behaviour topics, fucking cats. Like, people's cat stories were what?
Crazy.
Yeah, cats are crazy. Anyways, this was, like, a little bit of a funny one. I had this very sweet Burmese Siamese cat. She seemed so elegant and sophisticated to me, but one of her quirks is that she loved this knit blanket I owned and made bread on it every night. You know how they do the little kneading thing? When she went to bed. At the time, I thought I was a cool-ass teenager. I had my mattress at the floor of my bedroom, and I kept the cat bed next to me with the blanket on it for her. One night while I was dozing off, I had this habit of reaching over and scratching the top of her head when I fell asleep. I noticed that I did not recognise or feel her head, and that perturbed me. I switched on my bedside lamp, and to my shock and disgust, I found out I was scratching her whole asshole, and she didn't give an actual fuck about what was going on and what I was doing to her. At the time, it wasn't funny to me, but 10 years later, I think it's hilarious. God rest her precious little soul. Cats are a whole other situation. I
love cats.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. Like, and they just claw on... I love cats clawing onto people. That, to me, is a great time.
I love cats because they are very picky and they either like you or they don't. There's no, like, in-between, and I just love them for that.
I have a cat that is not very catty. My housemate calls him a cartoon character of a cat because he's just Like, everything that you think a cat would be, he's, like, the opposite. So he's pretty much like a dog. He rides a skateboard. He rides a skateboard.
What? Do you have
You must be a
that?
Yeah.
All right, I have to, if you are watching on YouTube, I'm going to insert a cat riding a skateboard.
Yeah.
Must be a good animal behavioralist.
Yeah.
You got the cat hanging 10 out there.
Yeah. So he does a lot of things. He does some spin. He also, if I shoot him, he'll play dead. He'll, like...
What?
Yeah,
what kind of breed of cat is this?
He is off the streets. So
he's on the streets.
Literally found him on the
And
streets.
he's a superstar.
It's like every cat owner. What kind of breed? Cat. Dog
Orange
owner.
cat.
It's a cross between.
Yeah. Okay, so he also likes to make bread, right?
Yeah.
And he's
Working hard in the biscuit factory.
Yeah, making those biscuits, especially on fluffy blankets.
Yeah,
and if anyone
right.
has had a male cat, they may know where I'm going with this. Because I've never had a male cat before. I've always had females. He's my first male cat. So he's just making biscuits on me, like, on my dressing gown, like, mostly in winter, because that's when I have all the fluffy blankets. And I just, like, look down, and then he'll, like, be making them, and then he'll just kind of, like, go straight to sleep. And I'm like, oh, so cute, so cute. No. He's actually, like, humping, and the blanket, like, fully going at it, and he will do that for, like, half an hour straight, and then he, like, obviously finishes, and then he just and he's just straight to sleep.
So he's just a typical male.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, I'd never seen this before, and then I talked to a bunch of my friends, and then they noticed their cats were doing it, and because they're so subtle about it, but my cat's no longer subtle.
Discreet ejaculator. Wait, I don't even think I've ever seen a cat dick. Wait, they wouldn't even have it.
It's like this big. It's tiny. And
Teeny
they only
tiny
come
little
out
penis.
like if they're doing that sort of stuff where they're licking it and stuff. So it goes inside and then it comes out. But that was when I figured out that what was going on.
I didn't know that they
I was
had
like,
little baby.
Yeah. But he had some pretty severe behavioural issues.
Right.
And so, like, he used to be really, really aggressive around food because he was off the streets. So he thought that any food was, like, the last meal he was ever going to get. So, like, I have video footage of him. He grabbed a piece of broccoli and he's, like, sitting on the ground growling at me, like, eating this broccoli. Like, he was wild. So I had to do a lot of work, like, retraining him and, like, fixing that. But now he's really, really good. He's amazing around food. Like, he's really good with his aggression. He does sometimes get frustrated. And if he gets frustrated, he's got a few things that I go through. So I'm like, do you want pats? Because he, like, just loves pats.
You're so good, Charlotte.
So I'm like, some pats. And then if that doesn't work and he's still like, because he doesn't even know what he wants. He's like, and he'll, like, start attacking me. So play with his little play stick. And then if that doesn't help, then I'm like, all right, getting the fluffy blanket out. And I just put the fluffy blanket down. And he's like, oh, yep.
He just needed a bit of de-stress moment.
And I'm like, is this weird? And I'm like, oh, it works. Like, it's natural.
Pop off, small king.
Let him do his thing.
We all have those times.
Jeez,
So,
Louise.
yeah.
I think, and it's weird with my pet, and I think it happens a lot. And it was so funny this morning. My sister and I were at the markets, and we're walking Ruben, who's being a bit of a shit, to be honest. And Jamie goes to me, she's like, "Oh, don't take him near the plants." And I'm like, "What happened?" She goes, "Yeah, like, look." And I've said to Jamie, "Put your fucking bin up." She said, "Yeah, look." He was near the plants and he did a shit in the forest area of, like, there were people selling plants at the markets. And he's seen the plant.
It's outside.
Yeah, he thought that, so he's done a monster shit. The thing is, he's gotten into the bin, eaten a whole-ass condom. The whole-ass condom has come out in the middle of this monster shit. It's almost like he's shat into a condom and filled it up. And it's just laying there, and Jamie's just like, fuck.
Run.
And right at the markets, there's all these children and things around. Someone came over to serve her, and she's like, I'm digging around for the bag. There's this clear condom on the floor. But Ruben's the biggest pervert. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's everyone's animal, but my dog is a fucking deviant. I don't know if that's everyone's thing. He loves socks, undies.
Yeah.
If I leave a shirt on the floor, he'll be like, ooh, this is where I sleep now. Mm-hmm. If he gravitates towards someone, like I have this guy I'm seeing that he really likes, and if he sleeps over, Ruben will, like, try and sleep on his pillow. I'm like, that's fucking cute, I guess. So,
And the amount of photos I have of Coco and Chiego sleeping together. Like, I am 100% a third wheel in this relationship. Like, she has very much taken my position.
Oh, that's cute though. Like, at least she likes him. It could be.
Yeah.
Because I've come into your room when you've been laying, like, so I'll get along with Coco and then we'll go to sleep. And the next morning I remember coming into your room to say goodbye and she's like, fucking all bets are off. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, if I'm laying down, she's like, nah, she's in a vulnerable position. I have to protect my food resource.
Yes. Honestly, I was like, this is going to launch at my fucking
she'll
throat.
like be on me and like snap at other people because she's like literally guarding me. But no, her and Chiego, they've got like this bond mostly because he's the soft touch and I am like the one that's like, if she doesn't have rules, she will be a little shit. And he's like, oh, but she's so cute. Like, he's like, look at her. Look at her. Like, how could you?
And she's
I can't say no. Yeah. He's like, I can't say no. Look at that face. He's like, she asked me. Like, to the point where, like, she doesn't like it when I make her food because I give her just her food. He sneaks her food in. And so I'll make her food and put it down. And if I'm the only one home, she'll eat it. But if he's home, she'll look at it and go to him.
Oh, she's living the dream.
Yeah, and then she will tap him and be like, my food.
Come on, you.
My food. And so then he gets up and fixes her food. And I'm like, before you, she just, whatever I gave her, she ate. And now she is the most fussy dog when it comes to food.
You get what you get and you don't get upset in my household.
What would be like your biggest tip for someone that's just gotten a puppy?
Yeah, okay.
Or a kitten, I guess. Oh, no, I guess they're two very different. We'll go with puppy.
Go with puppy.
Biggest tip for someone that's just gotten a puppy.
Do not take it to the dog park.
Yes.
Stay away from dog
Preach,
parks.
sister.
They are disease-ridden fight clubs for dogs. That's what we call them in vet clinics.
100%.
Yeah,
literally disgusting, like, viruses, parasites. There's studies being done where there are so many worms and parasites in dog parks. And also, taking your dog to a dog park and chucking it into a dog park is not socialising. That will literally, you'll wreck your dog. Like, your dog
I literally had, this is like one of the trainers that I had before you, and they were like, oh, because Coco hadn't been socialised because, you know, she'd been kept in a cage, and they were like, oh, we should take her to a dog park to socialise her. It was the worst move I have ever done.
Was so overwhelmed.
And she's tiny. And so even in the small dog park, she's still the tiniest. And like, it was so overwhelming, and it was just, it did the exact opposite effect. Yeah.
And also, like, learn the basics of dog body language and behaviour as well. Like, a lot of people actually don't understand proper dog body language, and so they're at the dog park and maybe they are watching their dog, but they don't actually know, like, oh, that's a warning sign there, like, my dog is stalking another dog. Like, if your dog is being chased by a group of other dogs, they're not having fun, they're not playing. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, look how cute it is, and that dog's just like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. So avoid dog parks and just learn the basics of dog body language. That's probably my...
But that's it. Like, it's the ambiguity of who else was going to be at the dog park. You could have the most amazing, well-behaved animal, and then there's someone taking their little cunty.
And some people that get the wrong kind of dogs for their lifestyle just think if they take it to the dog park, it's going to run all its energy out. And they do use it as very much a babysitting, like, but instead of, like, actually doing what the dog needs.
They're just working their dog up. Their dog's got so much adrenaline, and then they just take it back and put it back in the house. And so the dog it actually just revs them up more and more and more and more. Because, like, dogs actually need, like we do, they need time to, like, zen out and, like, you know, decompress. So if it's always, every time they leave the house, they go to a dog park, it's stressful or highly arousing, then it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then,
This first one is going to be a very quick and wholesome one. But I just saw it and it made my, like, heart melt, and I was like, it's so cute. So the Humane Society in Kansas, over in America, ended up raising $10,000 by doing an Only Paws campaign.
Aww.
Yes, so basically, very similar to the OnlyFans, but instead of this, every time they raised $100, they would share photos of their cat's toe beans.
Oh.
And this campaign took off like crazy because, let's face it.
Fucking clever campaign.
Yeah, selling paw pics.
Yes.
So they captioned it, "Times are tough and our pets need to pull their weight, so we're selling feet pics on the internet."
That is such a clever campaign. I'm mad I didn't think of it.
For every $100 we raise, we'll post a collection of our spiciest toe beans for a variety of species. All the money goes right back into caring for our incredibly sexy animals. Their methods worked too well, and the shelter ended up raising $10,000 selling paw pics.
Yeah.
Gremlin, start selling your feet, buddy.
Get it out.
Okay, so this one I found off Reddit, and it's a little sweet one. Well, not sweet, it's a short one, but it's kind of funny and maybe have a little bit of a laugh. And I think, like, maybe you would have had to deal with it being a vet tech, maybe. This one is called, "Today, my puppy ate a sex toy." Last night, my partner and I were having some fun. We didn't notice, though, that one of our vibrating rings had fallen from the bed onto the floor. However, our puppy did notice. I saw it peeking out of the corner of his mouth and instantly grabbed him, but it was too late. I reached my fingers into his mouth, but the little stinker had already swallowed it. After a very awkward phone call to the vet where they needed me to say exactly what the puppy had eaten, they then had me rush him in. While in the waiting room getting him checked, I was holding him, and to my horror, I could feel his stomach vibrating.
That would be so uncomfortable for him, though.
And I would be like, just worried.
Yeah.
Very lucky they were able to make him puke and surgery was avoided. They asked me at the end if I wanted my toy back.
I would have said yes.
Yeah.
It's a crazy economy out there.
Safe to say I can never go back to that vet again.
That's so common. Like, yeah, sex toys. Tampons are a big one as well.
Yeah, Ruben's a pig.
Yeah.
He,
underwear. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
eats
all
it
of Coco's faults, she's never chewed anything. I've never, ever had to, like, put anything away.
What a good girl.
To be fair, she is very, very tiny, so she cannot get into a lot of things. But, like, she just doesn't chew anything. Like, she has full access to the house. I never have to put anything up. And when I go to other people's houses, I have to remember that you can't just leave stuff anywhere. Like, you have to put stuff up high so their dogs don't get into it. But, yeah, Coco might be a bit of a spicy furball, but she's very well behaved when it comes to, like, not chewing stuff.
She's got her perks.
I once went through a really bad breakup, and the guy came over to my house. He shouldn't have dumped me at my house. At least he could go when he was ready. And he was breaking up with me, and it was pretty bad. And I was pretty upset. And I remember on his walk out the door, he turned around to me, and I was, like, crying in my bed. And he turned around to me, and I'm like, oh, God, he's regretting his decision. He's coming back. And he's like, oh, Samara, sorry, but Ruben's got your vibrator under the bed. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know.
Perfect timing, Ruben.
I've never spoken to that man ever again. I'm honestly glad that that's his last memory.
The last words. Famous last words.
He's got your
dog's got your vibrator.
Thanks, I'm going to be needing that now.
Thank you. Fuck off, Ruben. I need that. He's never eaten a sex toy, but he had that run in with one. He's a bit of a deviant, though. Like, one of my exes, we were doing it, and he got up, and he was bending over, and Ruben jumped up and licked his beehole.
Oh, it's going to find his balls or something.
Yeah, no. I reckon he would, though, if something was shaking around his bed.
Giving him the shock of his life.
Yeah, he did. He was like, I think your dog just licked my asshole. And I was like, well, yeah, Ruben's out here slinging rim jobs.
Hey, he's setting up his only paws.
Oh, yeah, he really is. He's doing it for free. He could be making money for that.
Yeah, hey, it's not cheap having you, Ruben.
Yeah, you fucking freeloader. You need to start. You're living here rent-free. You sleep all the time. You need to start pulling your weight.
Yeah, well, I remember you told me, the average cost of having a dog is, $10,000 per year. I was, shocked. And then I actually started to think about how much I've spent, and I'm like, Yeah, it's more for me.
Yeah, it would definitely. Like, I'm like, why am I so broke all the time? And I'm like, I just have too many pets. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's where all my money goes.
It's like, but I'm very much like, if you have an animal, it's for their life. And you have
Agreed.
that, like, responsibility. And if you cannot afford vet bills and, like, the stuff to keep them healthy, feeding them is a minimum. But doing all the other stuff, like, that is part of the package, and you shouldn't get a pet if you can't afford that. If you can't drop a few grand in a moment's notice because they've had to go to an emergency room, or, you know, you're not paying for, like, pet insurance or something like that, like, you shouldn't have a pet. Like, I'm very much like, pets are privileges, and, like, because there was that, like, news article that popped up where the, people with the Frenchie had to have, like, spinal surgery or
And
something.
they just sell the handbag? Is that
Yeah,
one?
and it was like, it cost like $38,000.
Rich people problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just sell one of my handbags.
But they're like, oh yeah, well, we've had to do this and that. And then they put it up on the news, and they kind of were having a go at the vet. You chose to have this pet, and you got a Frenchie that is known to have, like, health issues. And you were the one that then said yes, because they had to have spinal surgery, had to have, like, had to stay there for a week, have, like, 24-hour care, like, all of this. And that's why it cost $38,000. And it's not the vet's fault. Like, that's just what the care costs.
And they would have signed something saying, yes, I'm going to pay
But then
this
they went on,
cost.
like, I think, like, a current affair or something to, like, have a bitch and a moan
What way
about
did
it.
the story swing? Did it swing?
Well,
in the-
everyone was like, oh, boo-hoo, you had to sell a handbag.
Yeah.
And it's like, you said yes. It wasn't like they didn't tell you, and then all of a sudden, $38,000 later, and it's like, if you have, like, the money, would you not have pet insurance? Like,
The amount of people that will drop, like, 8 to 10 grand on a puppy and then have no money left for anything else and, like, complain about vaccinations or, oh, I can't afford health insurance, or then something happens and they're like, oh, well, I can't afford surgery. It's, like, one of my pet peeves. Like,
it is one of my pet peeves, too, because I don't care how much I spend. I freaking love Coco. I will spend ridiculous amounts to make sure. And she's got health issues. Bloody hell.
yeah, she does.
Yeah, you would need to have a separate account
Mate.
for Coco's issues.
She's the reason I don't have a house. Like, she's taken my house deposit. You were so cheap when I got you. You were only $250 from the RSPCA. And I'm like, you are so expensive now. But she's a little grumpy old lady. She's nearly 12 now. Like,
God.
What's their like? She's kicking on though.
Yeah.
She is.
she is, like, surprising, considering
life.
all of her health issues. She's still got a ton of energy. Like, people are always like, oh, how old is she? I'm like, oh, she's 12. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, she's surprisingly going well, even though she gets seizures. She's got asthma.
no teeth.
She's got
No teeth.
her teeth are falling out. Her heart's pumping funny, apparently.
Yeah, her heart's all screwed up.
I'm just like, I don't know how she's still kicking, because I honestly, when she first started getting the seizures, I was like, this is it. 3 years later, she's still going strong.
She's still seizuring out and
Well,
just
one of my
gets back
friends
up.
was like, well, when you did make a deal with the devil, like, he's like, Satan's strong.
Not as funny. This is kind of wholesome.
Yeah, do a wholesome
Do a
one.
wholesome one.
I've got a wholesome one as well.
Yeah, so my and this is so funny. My sister told me this morning, and no one in the family knows this, but it is a little wholesome and a little bit seedy. Anyways, my mum had this cat that she's super bonded with, and I think that's it. You know, your pets become family, and I think I even think, like, I'm 35, I've got no kids. Ruben sort of, in a weird ways, became my baby substitute. Like, I don't treat him like a baby, but if anything happened to a hair on that dog's head, I would be fucking throwing fists. So we had this cat, and the cat had passed. She was an older cat, and the cat had passed away under the bed. And my sister, 2 of my siblings were still living at home. I'm one of 5, so 2 sibs were still living at home, and my stepdad was there as well, and they found the dead cat, and they're like, what the fuck are we going to do? The mum's going to be beside herself that the cat died and she couldn't say goodbye or whatever. So my stepdad grabbed the now dead stiff cat out from under the bed, put it in the cat's bed, and they're like, just wait until mum finds it, and then we'll be like, oh, she died around family. The cat was there for like 4 hours, and everyone's like, oh, come on, mum, like, cotton on, the cat's fucking dead. And then to this day she doesn't know. So I don't think Mum, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Betty had been dead for a while. And everyone was just like, be cool, be cool, be cool. And then Mum like found her and she's like, oh, I think she's stiff as a board. Like, I think she's dead. And everyone's like, oh, that's so sad. At least she died around family. And my sister was like, nah, she seizured under the bed and was fucking dead. She was done. But it was very wholesome. Like, they tried to keep the secret for a while, but no, then they buried her in the backyard, and that was the end of Betty. Yeah, she was done. She was a
Betty.
wildcat. Rip. She was a wildcat, though. Like, we had this beautiful like rag doll, and some wild feral bush cat got into our yard and impregnated the rag doll, and the rag doll only had one kitten that survived, Betty, and Betty came out looking like fucking Smeagol. She did not look like that. Like, I was looking at it and I was like, are you sure that's her baby? It was like this, like, not rag doll at all, this short-haired looking Smeagol-y thing with, like, she had no hair at the top of her eyebrows. I was like, oh. I never really bonded with Betty. She was a bit of a country, so she wasn't really my cup of tea.
That face only a mother could love.
Yeah, truly. And my mum did love that cat. So, and they're like, oh, we'll go bury her. And that was that for bets.
I remember Coco's vet. She said to me one day, Coco's very lucky to have you. And I said, is that because no one else would? Like, she's quite, like, cunning. I wish you would use your, like, brain for good, but you only choose to use it for evil.
She wakes up and chooses violence.
Yes, the intrusive thoughts win with Coco. Like,
but she lives her life the way she wants to live it.
Yeah,
she doesn't let anyone tell her or not.
100% the intrusive thoughts win. She was, like, getting double food off me and Jacob because he started a new job and he had to be at work at 5, and normally we weren't getting up till like 5:30 in the morning. So he was getting up at like 3:50. Coco was getting up with him and going downstairs, and he was feeding her breakfast. Then he would then put her back into bed with me, and I've slept through all of this. And so then I would wake up at like 5:36 with her, thinking she's not eaten. So I take her downstairs. She acted as if she had not eaten just 2 hours ago. She was by her bowl, wagging her tail, being like, oh my God, come on. Like, and so I'm feeding her, he's feeding her. And then I'm like, 2 weeks later, I'm like, man, we're going through her food really fast. You know, are you giving her like, and he's like, no, I just give her a breakfast in the morning. I'm like, what? No, I give her breakfast in the morning. He's like, no, she gets up with me at 3:50 in the morning. So she's awake, ready to go. Yes. But I wake up with her in my bed. Like, how does that happen? And he's like, oh, I put her back into bed. She was getting double breakfast and acting. She ate both of them. Like, so, because I go down and her bowl is empty. There's no little bits in it. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I've got to give her a breakfast. But she is very cunning when, like, when it works to her advantage, she works it. Yeah, like, I probably should give a little bit of a backstory to Coco so people understand. They don't just
she's not just born this way.
Coco is a rescue dog, and I got her around 9 months old, and she came from, like, a puppy farm sort of situation, like a very bad. So the RSPCA did, like, a massive bust, and she was one of, like, the 40 dogs they got. She had no, like, sort of proper socialization or anything like that. So I got her, and she had just tons and tons of, like, behavioral issues, and they were like, you have to be, like, a female only, willing to do a trainer with her, and she's not a family dog, like, not at all. But I just loved her, and so, yeah, I was like, yeah, cool. I spent money on a trainer, but when I first got her, she was frightened of everything. She would only sleep under the bathroom sink because I think it felt enclosed and she felt safe, and that's probably like the conditions that she was used to sleeping in. And so she wouldn't ever sleep out in the open because she just didn't feel safe. Very aggressive with food because I think it had been where she wasn't getting fed regularly, and to the point where she would take her food and hide it around the house. So in the couch, in her bed. So during the week, I'd be, like, going through the couch, like, finding biscuits and all of this that she's hidden everywhere. Put a lot of work in, and I remember, like, the turning moment, because it was, like, a year later, and, like, I tried to, like, let her sleep in other places, but she just never would. And then one night, she asked to come up on the bed, and I was like, it's the moment.
It's happening.
It's happening. All my hard work. And then I put her up on the bed. And ever since then, she's always, like, slept on the bed. And I know so many people will be like, dogs don't belong, like, don't let your dog sleep on the bed. But I was like, you do not know where we were. I'm like, you do not get the fact that she trusts me now to sleep with me when she's, like, at her most vulnerable, unguarded. And then when Chiego came into the picture, obviously, like, this situation sleeping, and, like, I didn't want to put her on the floor. Then she's going to look at him as the issue.
Yeah.
But he was in her spot, so we have had, like, a few sort of issues with that because he rolls in his sleep, and so she's, like, he's gonna crush me.
Yeah.
So we've actually ended up, which I will add, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to add a photo in. We've built her a mini bed that's at the same height of our bed.
What?
Yes.
So cute.
Oh, so that way she's included and she's not off the bed, but she's got her own space. But now when he starts tossing and turning, she goes to her spot and she's still there, but not. We did trial putting her on the floor, and oh my God, did she make our life hell. Because she's like, I have got nothing else to do tonight but get back up on that bed. She's like, I am going to pee on the floor. I am going to run around. I'm going to go downstairs and bark at some possums because I'm not on the bed. I'm going to wake you up. Oh my God. She started to, like, just pee, and I'm like, she's doing this on purpose. And Chiago's like, no, maybe we're, like, not noticing because we're, like, asleep and she's not next to us, that we're not waking up when she's asking, because she's always been very good with toilet. No, because I caught her one day.
She's just, like, looking at you like...
Yes! People say, like, I'm like, this is what I'm saying. She is cunning. Like, she normally didn't need to pee during the night. Like, she sleeps throughout the night. And then, literally, I'm like, no, like, I think she's kind of doing it because she's angry at us. And then I literally take her outside right before bed. She doesn't need to pee. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Bring her up, and I put her in her bed. And as I'm, like, getting into bed, like, reading a book, she gets up and goes over to where I can see her and just squats down and pees. And she's looking, eye contact. Eye contact the whole time. She was, man. She was like, see this bitch? See this.
So has it stopped now that she's got her own bed?
Yeah.
She's like,
she was punishing me.
She did what needed to be done, and now she has her own bed. She's living that dink life, dual income, no kids.
Yes.
That's her fucking...
But for Chiago, this is how much she's got him wrapped around. He's like, no, surely mistakes. I'm like... So I'm the one that's mistaken. He's like, no, she wouldn't do that. Look at her.
She's like gaslighting.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
That reminds me of a story. I used to have goats, right? And I got goats because I had a lot of, like, acreage. I had a lot of weeds on my acreage.
Yeah.
And I was like, goats eat weeds, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, like, it was literally the middle of the night. I bought this goat off Facebook. They dropped it off in the middle of the night.
It's a marketplace goat.
I then
you
realized...
can get anything off
This is before, like, when you could still sell animals on Facebook as well. And I realized that I didn't know anything about goats or anything. Anyway. But then, so she must have been hand raised. Like, she thought she was a dog. Amazing. Her name is Phoebe. I love her so much. And then, of course, I was like, well, she needs a friend. So I went to buy her a friend and came back with 3 other goats. And then I just had this, like, herd
You had a tribe, mate.
Yeah. But the fences were so bad, and I didn't realize goats can, like, get out of anything, right?
Yeah.
So I could not keep them in, these fences. So they didn't eat any of my weeds. They just lived on the side of the road and ate all the grass along the side of the road. And I just gave up eventually because I could not, for the life of me, keep them in. And I was at uni. Like, I was a poor uni student with, like, this really crappy 5 acres of lantana that I was like... So, anyway... But she used to, like, so Phoebe, so the other goats were, like, pretty wild. Like, they were like, don't really come near me. Phoebe, if the door was open, she would be running and jumping on the couch, right? And my ex at the time, he hated her. Like, he just thought that she was out to get him and spite him, which I think she was. Like, goats are really smart, right?
Well, isn't the devil a goat?
Yeah. They're so
the
smart.
devil's a goat. She's probably like...
Yeah. She's like, so she would run in and jump on the couch and she'd be wagging her little tail. Oh, yeah. And he'd be like, get that goat out. And like, jump up and she'd be like, dee! Like, you know, do a little kick up, jump off, run outside. And then she would just antagonize him to, like, chase her as well. And she would think it was a game.
Goat.
So I got this new yellow car, right? And my ex was very controlling, and he didn't want this car to, like, get ruined or anything. And I'm like, so the goats like to climb on the car because that's what goats do, right?
Of course they do.
And so Phoebe in particular would love to sit on the the roof, and then slide down the windscreen and then jump off and then do it again and again and again, right? Looked like so much fun. And I'm like, look at her out there having fun.
You are a chilled goat mum. You are fucking chill. I reckon I'd be like, oh fuck, there's hooves on my roof.
She like dented his roof because she used to sleep on the roof of his
She's
ute.
a savage.
She was anyway. So but yeah, she would like antagonize him, and one morning, like again, couldn't keep them in. And she would stand outside my bedroom window where my car was parked right underneath the window. And she would stand on the roof and like, ah! And like bar at me until I like opened the window. And then she'd be like, hi, Mom. And then she'd slide down the window screen and jump off. The funniest thing. But I had to rehome them because they went next door to the neighbour's house and did the same thing on their cars and broke their cars.
No.
And the neighbour was like, look, I do love your goats, but they broke my car. And I'm like, it's okay, they're going now.
Yeah, so whatever happened to them?
They went to live on like a massive goat farm. So they live in the
Is that what your parents told you?
No, I did drop them off. Like like the feral goats, because like the other 3 goats were like completely wild. They didn't want anything to do with me. So they would have had a great time, but I was worried about her because she thought she was a dog.
Yeah, right.
I was worried she'd get lonely, but I still think about it all the time. Like, her so much.
Where is she now? Yes.
Yeah, somewhere out west somewhere. But yeah, goats are just completely wild creatures. Like, they're just so cute and like so funny. Like, if you're ever sad, just watch a goat play. Because they just are so full of like enthusiasm for life.
And the way they jump, they're like, like, I'm here for that.
I've ended up on goat TikTok about this guy. He has goats and he sends them into people's yards to strip the yards.
That's what I was trying to do with my goats, but didn't work.
Yeah,
they didn't do it.
That's the area of TikTok I'm currently on. Is goat TikTok. I am hooked
on goat TikTok.
I love seeing the before and the afters of what the goats do. Like, I am hooked on goat TikTok.
I'm going to check it out. I'm currently on orca TikTok because apparently...
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, the orcas
I
are
don't
like...
fuck with orcas.
No, well, neither do I. I'm more scared of orcas
They
than
are
sharks.
psychopaths.
Yeah, they all like... Because they have their little system things.
They are smart.
They're
ridiculously smart. No.
And they've been attacking boats. And I'm like, is this the rise of the orca? Like, they're fucking out there.
Get out of my ocean.
Like, I saw a blackfish. And they're like, coming to get them.
Well, we lost the war against the emus. And I don't think we'll do better against orcas. Have you not heard about the emu war?
What's the emu
Classic
war?
Australian story.
Oh my god! And I call myself Australian. I gotta hand my Vegemite in.
It's even on Wikipedia. Australia lost the war to the emus.
Hell, but all right, tell me this story.
So basically, there's a whole bunch of emus. I think in Western Australia, was it?
I can't remember where
somewhere.
it was. Yeah.
And so they sent the army out to basically cull them, basically. And
what, did an emu get a gun? They're like, pow pow.
Turns out they're actually a bit smarter, and they just hid. They hid from them. And also, too, we found out that emus are a bit bulletproof because their feathers are so thick that when they would shoot them, it wouldn't, like, it would literally, like, basically, like, Kevlar and not get into them.
Damn.
So what ended up happening?
The emus won. Yeah.
What is fucking happening with our defense force? Just send emus to war.
Yeah.
They're like out there running around.
Apparently they gave up and the emus won. So we lost the war to the emus.
I'm not surprised, really. I just feel like just chuck them in. Enlist the emus, get them out
But
there.
yeah, apparently they were putting in strategies of, like, hurting the soldiers.
Because emus are really aggressive. Emus are scary.
Yeah.
Yes, I reckon they would be. Emus and even like a kangaroo. I've been out camping and kangaroos, like, they're muscular. Like, they are like...
And they'll go,
Yeah,
like,
they'll start boxing. They'll kick you. Yeah,
well, emus have got those big-ass legs, so apparently they were giving them a bit of trouble to the point where they're like, it's not worth it.
Wow. No, I'm pretty fortunate. I've never...
Knock on wood.
I never ever, knock on wood, been attacked by an animal that I can think of right now. So
No, I have. I've never been swooped by a magpie.
Oh, fuck, magpies.
I've never been swooped.
What? I have. I've been, like, pissed my pants swooped by a magpie. I remember once I was walking to uni, I had my laptop, which was back in the DZ. Laptops were this giant. I had this giant laptop, and a magpie was violently swooping me, and I had to call my sibling to come and get me because I was so scared, and I hid in someone's yard, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "There's a fucking predatorial bird out there, and I can't run fast because I got this big fucking
You do
computer."
not mess with a magpie during their, like, baby season.
No, that's when it was the time, and I was like,
the council puts up signs for a reason because they're that bad.
No, that's why I live in the sort of, well, now I'm a little bit in the burbs, but I've always lived in the city because I'm like, oh, there's no magpies out here. But now there's a few trees where I am. I'm like, fuck, this is magpie land. Like, this is,
I find them more aggressive too in the city. Like, I guess because there's always things going on. They feel like they need to defend themselves.
True.
So you're probably more at risk living close to the city.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's the go.
Okay, so I've got this story, and it has been posted on a few different places in Reddit, but this one is from Bridezillas. So, but involves animals. Am I the asshole for getting my sister-in-law arrested on her wedding day? This is a throwaway account. I, 24 female, and my husband, 24 male, have 3 dogs, 2 corgis, and a Pomeranian. I rescued them from a puppy mill that was shut down about 6 months ago. They were all in horrible condition, and I had numerous medical issues. They are very friendly dogs and adjusting to their new life extremely well. Now, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, let's call her Amy, has met them a few times before at events that have occurred with the family. Amy said that she wanted them to be her ring bearer and flower girl at her wedding. Amy and I do not get along at all. She said on numerous occasions hurtful and cruel things to me and to my other family members, and really anyone that would listen. I'm not even invited to the wedding as I would ruin the vibe. So this is her soon-to-be sister-in-law, so her brother hasn't even invited her to his own wedding.
Right.
Yeah. I told her that she would not be using my dogs for her wedding for multiple reasons, including me not being invited in the first place, and that they were all having surgery a few days prior. They were all getting spayed as well as some dental work, so she wasn't happy that I said no, which I think's like fair enough. Like,
imagine the dogs going and you not go. I feel like that would be too stressful for me. I'd be like, oh, I hope he's behaving.
But it's also like, where does someone get off? Like, give me your dogs, but you're not invited to my wedding. Like,
not you.
You're not the right vibe, but your dogs are. Imagine being told that.
I get it, though. Some people's dogs are better than them. Can relate.
Now to the event that happened a couple weeks ago. All of my dogs had their surgery on the Thursday. The wedding was on the Sunday in the evening. My husband and I left the house to go and run some errands Sunday morning, and the dogs were at home asleep. I got a notification on my phone about the monitor at the back door. I checked it, and it was Amy opening the door and walking into the house.
What? Breaking in.
Yeah, that's breaking and entering.
Breaking in. What a savage.
I started panicking and telling my husband we needed to leave now and get back to the house. I showed him the video and he agreed. I started calling my brother and demanding for him to get his future wife out of my house, and if she leaves with my dogs, I will call the police. He hanged up on me. I got home and all of my dogs are gone. Their cones were left in their crates, so I called the police for breaking and entering. The police arrived and I showed them the video of her getting into our house and leaving with the dogs. I told them where the venue was, as someone had sent me a copy of the invitation. The police made it to the venue just in time and were able to locate all of my dogs. One had opened their stitches and was bleeding from the wound. My husband rushed her to the emergency vet to get her stitches closed up. Amy was arrested in the middle of getting ready for her wedding and has been charged with a Class 1 felony and a few misdemeanors.
Psycho.
That's unbelievable. That is wild.
Yeah. Now everyone is saying I ruined the wedding and I overreacted to the entire situation. I'm also being told that I need to pay them back for the wedding since it never happened. I'm refusing to pay anyone back as well, and I will not drop the charges.
Yeah.
No.
She's got all the power in that situation.
Oh my God. If anyone did that to Coco, I wouldn't have even waited. I would be going into that wedding throwing fists.
Yes.
Yep.
I would be the one getting arrested for assault.
Calling up all my friends, like, come on, we got to go get the dogs back.
I just don't get, like, how entitled someone could be. It's like, you're not invited to my wedding, but I want your dogs. But even though you've told me no, I'm still going to take them.
How was that going to end? How were they going to get the dogs back? Like, it's just...
I just don't get, like, how you would feel like, oh, no, they'll be okay. I'll just take the dogs. Like, and then... The fact that her brother is, like, okay with his sister just not being invited to the wedding at all. Like, you know, he's getting married and it's all good that his new wife doesn't like his sister. But then to be like, you are committing a crime, but it's all good. Like, I just don't get it. Like, do people think just because it's like, oh, it's family? Like...
Yeah, I can push the boundaries and it'll be fine. Like,
She is not the asshole, I think.
I would have been happily ruining that wedding day.
They are the asshole, and they shouldn't have done dumb shit on their wedding day if they didn't want to get in strife.
Yeah, and if anything, you could sue her for, like, the vet bills and stuff.
Exactly.
Having to go and take the dog to the emergency.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got, like, a few comments from that. I'd press charges and make her pay the vet bill. She ruined her wedding day by herself by breaking the law and endangering your dogs. Your brother is a problem as well. Agree with
toxic family members.
Yeah, that's my thing. Just because they're your family does not mean that they should have a different standard of behaviour. So she has put an edit in. A lot of people are asking how she managed to get into my house. The front and back door only have deadbolts with keypads, and one of my family members had told her the code to get in.
Conspiracy among the family members.
Which is
the betrayal.
Don't be enabling your family for bad behaviour.
The betrayal.
Like, I bet that person that told her the code is regretting that.
Yeah. Because that's not just bad behaviour, that's breaking the law. Like, that's illegal. Wow.
Crazy.
I feel like, do you have any horsey stories? I only ask, I'm actually curious. I had the behaviouralist I got for Ruben, she was like a horse one, and she's said to me they're like big dogs. And I was like, really? Yeah, she said they're very, because I find horses, like, I used to be a horsey girl growing up. And then I sort of grew out of it.
I think we all were. Saddle club.
It was so cool. I used to have, my parents let me, like, rent a horse, which I don't know if you can still do that.
Yeah, like a lease.
Yeah, and we used to go riding Candy and trotting along, and I was, like, living my best life. But it's interesting because now as an adult, I'm a little bit scared of it.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I'm like, this thing is big.
You're more aware of your mortality when you're older, for sure.
Like this big-ass thing with, shoes that are on its feet forever, like, you know.
They are dangerous. Like, people die all the time in horse accidents, like, interacting with horses. Yeah,
you can break your spine, too. Like, a lot of people wear the vest to, like, protect their, so if they get bucked off.
Wow, if the horse is just like, no mo today, yeet.
Well, yeah, I do have a story, actually.
Yeah.
It's, like, sort of a social media story. So, a lot of the, like, so I've got a TikTok account. A lot of the work that I do is, like, kind of like an equestrian influencer, just trying to, like, show people that,
I love that niche. I love it.
Like, you can use, like, so positive reinforcement training with horses. So you can train horses just like you train dogs, and, like, that sort of stuff. And I didn't really start off doing it like that. Like, I just started off just training my horse and posting videos, and they just really took off. And I sort of, like, entered that way. Anyway, so TikTok is pretty wild. Like, I don't know.
Oh, it's the Wild West TikTok.
It really is.
And people are savage on TikTok. Yeah. I feel like of all the platforms, mind you, I'm not that big on YouTube, not like you are, but I feel like people are savage on TikTok. Even with, like, Wild Yarns TikTok, I'm scared to, like, read the comments because I'm like, anyone, once you've got, as soon as you put up an opinion, there's going to be other people with another opinion, and they're fucking mean.
And it's surprising the number of experts that are currently on TikTok. there's experts in all fields who would know.
Yeah. But, like, they've got no profile picture and they have 1 follower, but they are an expert. Yeah.
Jeez.
So, and because it's equestrian TikTok, like, equestrians are a little bit toxic. So, obviously, it kicks off a lot.
Yes,
off a lot. There's this guy in America who just decided that he just hates me. Like, you've got
an enemy.
I've seen those.
You've got an enemy. I'm so excited to check out your TikTok to find the enemy.
So actually, he started like posting. So his content was completely different to my content, like, and then he started like copying all of my content, like, to make fun of it, right? Which, like, I was like, whatever. But he took it too far, and he actually started promoting. So he's very like anti like treating horses nicely and positive reinforcement, right? Which is really weird.
Where's he from?
Somewhere in Arizona or something.
Yeah, I was about to say he's given me a...
Yeah, he's...
Not to stereotype,
but... So he, for some reason, hates me. And I actually have a photo. I'll show you guys.
I'm so excited.
Because you've seen this.
Show me.
So, yeah, he started taking it too far, and he ended up actually promoting it, like, positive reinforcement training more than I was.
Did your followers come for him?
So his followers too, like, he's got...
They would hold him accountable for not being authentic, surely.
No, his followers are, like, he's got, like, a little cult following, like, and they're really, really aggressive and savage.
Do they come for you?
Yeah.
What?
It's great.
Thank you for the engagement. Show me what's the picture?
Okay. So he started, like, taking it further and further and further, and then by this point, I just let him go. So here, this is him, dressing up completely as a girl, pink wig and everything.
Oh,
He's
my
bought
God!
a target stick, and he's got a clicker, and he's literally clicking and feeding his horse.
What? And that must be what you do?
Yeah, and he's trying to, like, make fun of me with it. But at this point, like, he's promoting it more than I am.
Wow.
And it just got so weird.
We'll have to cut that or show that in there.
Yeah, I'll
send
it. It's so weird. So that's like, because when I started out my TikTok account,
some people have got too much free time. Like, he
Literally.
would have had to go into the store to buy that wig to then make fun of you. You have too much free time.
And I called him out because he was wearing a blue wig and I used to have blue hair.
Yeah,
I called him out on it, and then immediately gets a pink wig. And I'm like, it's still clearly obviously me. Like, for example, like, I would do, like, a yoga video, like, yoga with my horses. And so he did, like, a yoga with my horses. And he's, like, throwing food at his horse and stuff. And, like, he just looks like an idiot. And I'm like, I'm just going to let it go now.
I am so happy we fell down this rabbit hole because this is so interesting. Like, what a nut job. And they're everywhere. And he goes out of his way. He's probably, like, in bed sleeping and, like, wakes up and is like... How can I fuck with her today?
So crazy too that someone that's never met you could be like that invested and like you're clearly on his mind. Like, how can you be like that? Like, it's crazy that someone could get that worked up over someone they've never even met, to the point where he is literally planning to go and buy like props to then make these. He's put so much time and, like, investment in it. And, like, I just don't have that. Like, I could never do that. Like, jeez.
And target sticks are not cheap. Target sticks are expensive. And he's gone out and bought a prop. I didn't ever even have a target stick at that point.
He needs to get a hobby. Like, dude, you need a hobby. Like, did your mum not hug you enough? Like, are you missing something in your life? Like,
that is crazy. So does he comment on your stuff, or is he sort of
I did block him for a while. I had to block a bunch because he then teams up with other people and then they all come and attack like me and my followers.
Just for you living your life. You're just living your life and that's happening.
Yeah, so I had to block him for a bit, and then after a while, like, I'll unblock people because I'm like, you know, you get put in the time out for a little bit and then I'll unblock you.
Yeah, right.
And then someone did message me and say that apparently I'd pissed him off again, but I haven't actually looked at his account because I'm just like, I just don't want to, like, keep fueling the fire.
You don't want to put the energy in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Like, I'm out here literally trying to make the world better for horses and help people, and he's just out here making fun of people for content. I'm like, well...
He's just out there dressing up like a girl. Like.
Dressing up like a chick and giving treats to a horse.
Yeah.
Like, I think someone once told me this, and this person told me this in terms of social media. He's like, social media is sort of like being in a car, listening to the stereo, enjoying your music. You're just driving straight ahead, rocking out to Wham, and if someone drives in their car next to you and you're doing nothing wrong and starts screaming at you, you would look at them and go, that is a crazy person. Why are they doing that? I'm in my lane. They're in their lane. I'm not doing anything wrong here. And that's what it's like on social media. These people see you shining and living your life and they're screaming at you from their lane where it's just craziness.
And those kind of people, they want you to react. Like, he's gone to that extreme to get you to engage and react, and it's like adding fuel to their fire. I get sometimes like crazy people, and I'll either be like, when they comment on something great, I'll be like, thank you for watching, and act like, and they're like,
thanks for the engagement.
Yeah, and then they get really annoyed because they kind of realise that by you commenting, they've done something beneficial, and they're like, or I'll just be like, now, why do you feel the need to leave a nasty comment like that? I think that says more about you than me, and maybe you need to do some self-reflection. And, like, that works them right up because they're like, how dare you call me out on my behaviour? Like, and I'm just like, you know, I feel really, like, sorry that, you know, you've put so much time and energy into, like, these bad thoughts. Like, you know, I really hope you get help. And that just fucking sends them. That is, like, because when you go back and, like, you're kind to them or, like, you know, you say, like, why do you feel the need to do this? And they have to, like, reflect on their, like, shitty-ass behaviour. They can't cope. But if you go back with the same sort of energy and anger, they're like, yes, I've gotten what I want. I'm going to do more.
Exactly, yeah. Like, especially on TikTok, like, do not fight in the comments on TikTok because the comments aren't even, like, legible. Like, they're all mixed up.
It doesn't go in order. Sense. So you're like, what are people talking about?
And, like, I see people, like, arguing on my comments, and I'm like, it really doesn't. You could be arguing with a child. Like, you can reach more people by just, like, making your own content. If you feel that strongly about it, like, don't leave a comment, like, make your own content and put out your idea into the world. Like, that's what TikTok is for.
I 100% agree with, like, the way that you train where it's, like, the reward based, like, because especially with Coco, because you've done, like, an amazing job. Like, we're inserting a lot of stuff into this one, so you better be watching on YouTube.
Gone rogue.
Man, watch this on YouTube if you are on Spotify at the moment. Head on over. We all know I've got a spicy Pomeranian. So she's got asthma, and I remember, like, when the vet was like, yeah, she needs an asthma puffer, I was like, oh, fuck. How the hell am I going to get her to take an asthma puffer? It's scary. It has to go over and it has to stay on for 30 seconds. And, you know, she's getting sprayed basically in the face with stuff that doesn't smell right. Now, I did it this morning. I put her on my lap. I have to make sure that there's a treat there. She has to be able to see the treat. She's like, I ain't doing this for free. She will fully take the asthma puffer, and it's literally just from the reward, the positive reinforcement. But there was no way if we had just, like, kept forcing her to take it that it would have happened. And the fact that you've managed to train this
I'm impressed with myself, to be honest.
This spicy-ass 12-year-old cranky Pomeranian to put a literal mask over her face and have stuff sprayed in her and to sit there for 30 seconds is like, you know, you're a friggin' amazing trainer. And it's 100% like, it's the positive reinforcement. Like,
it's just listening to their boundaries and just, like, working with them and building that relationship. And, like, I knew Coco before, like, so I knew what I was getting into. Like, I was the vet tech that was treating her at the vet clinic, that we would have to, like, wrap her up in towels, and she'd be like, so, like, and I was like, I'm willing to try it if you are. Like, I think we can do it if you want to give me a chance. So, yeah.
And the system worked.
Cool. Yeah, it worked really cool.
But, honestly, when it was first suggested, I was like, never going to work. I'm like, oh man, we are barking up the wrong tree with this one. I'm like, are you sure there's not any other form that we can give it to her in? Tablets, liquid, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
But yeah, now every day she takes it, and she takes it like a champ, and it's like, I'm still shocked. What dog would you never own?
A Shar Pei.
And why?
Really?
Shar Pei.
What's the reason?
Don't understand why people like Shar Peis. Okay, so
I think it's the freaking toilet paper commercial that got everyone.
Yeah, maybe.
With the cute little rolls.
So, one, if you got a dog with rolls like that, they're going to have disgusting skin. They get like skin yeasty infections. They usually got like hypersensitivity to like allergies and stuff. Their fur is terrible. Like it's not even soft, it's spiky, and it gets stuck like under your skin.
Gross.
Like,
you get pink eye.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
They're also bred to be fight dogs, so they are.
Yeah, I heard that
predisposed
they're
for
actually
aggression.
like quite aggressive.
The
dogs.
sharp
Yes.
Yep. Very.
I know
very
the toilet paper
unpredictable.
commercial lied to you.
Shocking. Marketing lied to us. So shocking.
So, like, overall, I just don't really get why people would like them. And also, their ears are very, like, if you've ever seen their ears, so they get so many ear infections because, like, they're not bred well. Like, they really aren't. Like, their skin is like that because they used to be fighting dogs. So, like, if a dog grabs onto them, like, you're not going to be ripping too much because the skin's going to move with it and there's a lot of protection there. But, yeah, in the modern day, that's just a recipe for disaster. And if you get a Shar Pei and you complain about it being aggressive or getting skin or ear infections, then you should just...
Didn't research your breed. Didn't look into
just go and put you in the bin because, yeah. So Shar Peis, probably Frenchies is the next one just because... they're just so badly bred. Like, they shouldn't really... Nature said no, and we just kept going with the artificial insemination. Like, they really...
Yeah, because they have a lot of breathing problems because their noses, like, they don't have, like, the clear ways, and, like, their tongues are too big.
Yep. Their palates are wrong. Their spines are all screwed up. Again, okay, I could list a list of breeds that I would not own. Again, a dachshund is the same.
I don't like. I'm controversial opinion. I'm sorry to dachshund owners, but I'm just don't like them. I don't like the dog. I think I've met one dachshund that I was like, that's a cute dog. Outside of that one, they're just piece of shit dogs. They've got attitude. I don't know if it's across the board, but all of the ones I've met are just the attitudes. They suck. I'm just not about. I'm not drinking the sausage
Kool-Aid.
dog. Nah, not for me. What are your reasons?
Well, the thing is, like, when you're breeding for certain traits, obviously we're breeding for, like, them to be long and cute, and we're not selecting for their brains. So along the way, the brains get a little bit screwed up, so you get a lot of anxiety that's coming off as aggression and separation anxiety and constant barking. But then you've got the spinal problems.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
if you have a dachshund, do not let it go up and down stairs. Do not let it jump up on anything. Like, have money set aside, have it insured with an insurer that's going to be able to replace its back when its back does go, because it's like pretty much not when, it's going to happen most likely. Like, so yeah, they're just. I just don't. Again, I don't see why people like them. I've met maybe like 3 good dachshunds in my life, like as in like not super aggressive and just neurotic. Out of like probably like because. For some reason, the clinic I used to work at, everyone had dachshunds. So I've seen.
Wow, you've
it's
really
like people
had a sausage fest over there.
Oh, get a small dog, they'll be easy. They are not easy. They are harder. I had a Rhodesian Ridgeback, and that was way more easier than
Big gentle
freaking
giants.
Coco.
Yeah.
Like, I love Coco. She's not getting a good rap on here today. She's probably putting a lot of people off getting a Pomeranian, but it's real 50-50 with Pomeranians. You're either going to get a real spicy one, or you're going to get a super cute, sweet one.
I think they're also, like, Pomeranians are really smart, because I have a Pom, so I can say that.
Yeah.
Like, and so if they don't feel like you are giving them the support that they need, they will go find that elsewhere. They'll stand up for themselves.
What a savage. Like, see you later.
Yeah. So then they'll get, like, aggressive because they feel like they have to, like, look after themselves and, like, issues like that. So, yeah.
What dog would you get? Like, if you could pick any dog.
I personally love working dogs. But that's just because, like, I have the time and energy to put into, like, the training, and I want a dog that's very switched on. Like, Kelpies are probably my favourite. But if I was just, like, a random first-time dog owner, I would highly recommend to get a greyhound, because you're rescuing them most of the time.
So is racing still... It's illegal now, yeah? Or,
No, it's still happening.
It's still happening.
Really?
Yeah.
I hadn't... See, I'm living in the dark ages, but I see greyhounds, they look so... They're like... They've got these... really gentle looking faces, but they're like ridiculous looking dogs. Like, I love it though.
They're so big, but like they really just, they're so placid. Whenever a greyhound comes into the vet clinic, you know that it's going to be easy to do whatever it is that you need to do to them, because they've been well handled from like a young age, and they're very like, their temperaments are very like, just like, okay, I'll just freeze and like just do the thing. They don't need much exercise. Like you just give them zoomies for like 15 minutes and then they'll sleep all day.
Speed, not endurance.
Wow.
Yep. So perfect dog to like take down to the dog park to do some zoomies and then sleeps all day every day. So if you've got an apartment dog, they're amazing. You do like there's some stupid laws that you have to muzzle them in public in certain states, I think, just because especially if they've come off like the track because they do chase fluffy things, but I have never seen a greyhound with an issue chasing, you know, small animals and stuff. Most of them get retrained quite easily. Like
a friend of mine had one that they rescued, and they're the most beautiful couple. And they were walking it, and they'd never had any problems with it. And one day there was a possum running across the top of a fence, triggered the dog. Dog went crazy, jumped up, killed the possum.
But any dog would do that.
And that's exactly it. And they were
Coco
just like,
tries it on a regular basis.
yeah,
like,
and they were.
She's never getting it, but she still gives it
She's
her all.
having a go, and they were beside themselves because they're like, and they're just such beautiful people. So they're like, oh my God, the dog did this thing. But then at the end of the day, it is a rescue. It is that little bit of a risk, and that was just a very unfortunate.
yeah, my dog has done that. Like,
Really? Yeah, it's just unlucky.
They've all got prey instincts. Like,
Yeah.
Coco killed a rat once.
Oh damn! Oh, I think I knew that.
I
actually.
reckon, I don't know, like my sister's got chickens and now they don't. They used to have Reuben over for sleepovers, but they don't now. And honestly, I think I know my dog inside and out, but I'm like, fuck, if he got in that chicken coop, he would potentially do something to the chickens. So, like, it's, I get it.
They're all, at the end of the day, they're all animals, and animals will act the way animals are going to act.
Instincts take over.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you can do a lot of work, like, with retraining and stuff and managing situations.
Well, thank you guys for watching that Wild Yarns all about animals behaving good and bad. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but we got to say a big thank you to Charlotte for coming on board. She is absolutely amazing. Like, if she can train Coco, she can train any dog. So I'll add all of her socials down below in the description. Definitely go and find her and follow her, especially if you are like a dog or horse enthusiast, because she's got some really great videos up on TikTok and gives really great, helpful tips for just training your animals.
And if you want to teach your cat to skateboard.
Yes.
I might do a video on that. It's really easy.
An extraordinaire. Like, she can teach a dog to take an asthma puffer and a cat to skateboard.
I love it. Just a reminder as well, guys, we are on Spotify, we are on YouTube, we're on all the socials as well. Come and give us a follow or a subscribe, or both would be awesome. Also, don't forget to submit your wild yarns. We love sharing your stories and we love hearing them. I love opening up my DMs and seeing things. So be sure to send anything through that's a bit crazy, because we definitely want to share it. And I guess that's us.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
Adios, amigos.